Chosen one, right now, someone is staring at their phone with your contact pulled up, thumb hovering over your name. They've been doing this daily, maybe hourly. The regret is eating them alive, but what they don't know yet, what's going to devastate them completely, is that you've already moved so far beyond their reach that their desperation is just echoing in an empty canyon. There's a second person refreshing your social media obsessively, trying to decode the transformation they're witnessing. Your glow, your confidence, your obvious abundance, none of it makes sense to them. Where's the broken person they knew? Where's the struggling, grateful soul who used to bend over backward for their approval? And there's a third revelation building, one that connects all these into a devastating truth, so perfect, so utterly complete, that when it hits them, they'll finally understand the magnitude of what they fumbled. But to understand how this masterpiece of karma began, you need to see the invisible prison they built around your light. They had you trained to apologize for your brilliance, trained to shrink when you succeeded, trained to feel guilty about wanting more than the scraps they threw your way. Every family gathering where they'd roll their eyes at your dreams, every friend who changed the subject when you shared your victories, every partner who made you feel selfish for having standards. They created an invisible prison around your potential, and the most insidious part was convincing you that the walls were for your own protection. Be realistic, they'd say. Money isn't everything. Some people just aren't meant for that life. You should be grateful for what you have. What they were really saying: stay small, stay useful, stay beneath us. Here's what they miscalculated, the fatal error that's about to bring their whole world crashing down. Chosen ones can be suppressed, but they cannot be contained forever. And when they break free, the explosion doesn't just liberate them, it obliterates everyone who tried to keep them caged. This systematic dimming of your light was actually preparing you for something they couldn't see coming, a training ground that would forge you into something unbreakable. Every betrayal was preparation. Every night you sobbed into your pillow, wondering why you attracted such treatment that was boot camp for your spirit. Every financial struggle, every toxic relationship, every family member who treated your dreams like delusions, all of it was the universe creating the exact conditions needed to forge someone unbreakable. You've survived homelessness, you've clawed your way back from addiction, you've rebuilt your life from ashes, so many times you've lost count. You've been called crazy, dramatic, too sensitive, too ambitious, too much. While you were learning to survive on nothing, you were developing abilities they take for granted but could never replicate. While you were learning to find light in the darkest places, you were becoming someone who could illuminate any situation. While you were starting over again and again, you were becoming truly unstoppable. But here's the beautiful, devastating irony that's about to unfold. Every person who participated in your suffering is about to become an involuntary witness to your triumph. They're going to watch you rise to heights they convinced you were impossible, using the exact strength they helped you build through their cruelty. The transformation was already beginning, though they couldn't see it yet. Your perception was starting to shift, and with it, their carefully constructed illusions were about to crumble. Suddenly, you could see the game board clearly. The friend who only appeared during their crises but vanished during yours. The family member who celebrated your failures with barely concealed glee. The partner who supported your dreams in public but sabotaged them in private. Their masks weren't slipping, your vision was clearing. You started noticing patterns that had been there all along. How they'd drain your energy right before big opportunities. How they'd create emergencies whenever you were about to level up. How they'd play victim every time you tried to set boundaries. How they'd reframe your generosity as obligation and your success as betrayal. But while you were recognizing their manipulation, 3 cosmic responses were converging that are about to change everything. One involves money flowing to you in amounts that will make their calculations crumble. Another involves recognition that will force them to confront what they lost. The third involves information coming to light that will validate every suspicion you had but couldn't prove. Each shockwave is going to hit them separately, but the combined effect is going to leave them in a silence so profound, so complete, that it will speak louder than any argument you could have made. This awakening to their true nature was revealing something even more profound, the generational scope of what you were really here to accomplish. You weren't just healing from dysfunction. You were breaking generational curses that had been passed down like toxic heirlooms for decades, maybe centuries. Your great-grandmother who accepted scraps because she believed that's all she deserved. Your grandfather who worked himself to death because he confused suffering with virtue. Your parents who passed down poverty consciousness like it was wisdom. The entire lineage of limitation and lack that had defined your family's relationship with abundance, success and self-worth. All of it stops with you. This is why the resistance has been so fierce. This is why every step forward has felt like swimming upstream in concrete. You're not just changing your own life, you're disrupting systems of limitation that have kept your bloodline trapped in cycles of struggle for generations. Here's the part that's going to absolutely shatter the people who doubted you. Your transformation isn't just breaking curses, it's activating dormant gifts in your entire lineage. Family members are about to start experiencing their own miraculous breakthroughs, and when they trace the source, it leads back to the moment you stopped playing small. Meanwhile, that ex who's been stalking your Instagram, trying to figure out your secret, is about to realize they weren't just dating you. They were in proximity to a generational shift, and they fumbled the opportunity of multiple lifetimes. You made a choice that split your timeline into before and after. Not a gradual shift, a quantum leap that rewrote your entire reality matrix in an instant. You decided to stop apologizing for your light. You decided to stop shrinking for their comfort. You decided to stop accepting crumbs when you were designed for the entire feast. The exact moment you made this decision, everything started moving. Opportunities that had been blocked for years suddenly opened. Money that had been stuck in some cosmic traffic jam suddenly flowed. People who had dismissed you suddenly paid attention, but the most dramatic change was energetic. You stopped being available for their drama. You stopped being their emotional dumping ground. You stopped being their unpaid therapist, their constant solution, their safety net while they played dangerous games with your heart and your energy. Your absence from their chaos created a void they're still trying to figure out how to fill. And here's what's making them panic in ways they can't even articulate. They're discovering that what they thought was your dependence on them was actually their privilege in accessing you. They thought they were doing you favors by keeping you in their orbit. They're realizing now that you were the one extending favors, and that privilege has been permanently revoked. This quantum decision immediately triggered the most visible part of your transformation, the reclamation of your natural radiance. As you pulled your energy back from their dysfunction, something extraordinary happened that defied every prediction they'd made about your future. You started glowing, not metaphorically, but in ways that made strangers stop and stare. Even on your worst days, disheveled, exhausted, completely undone, people would approach you with curiosity. Are you a model? There's something different about you. Authentic power has its own magnetism, and you were finally allowing yours to surface without apology or explanation. Your former circle started hearing reports from mutual connections. Did you see them at that event? They look completely transformed. Something's changed about them. They seem so confident now. They were always attractive, but now they're magnetic. This triggered the first wave of panic, because they had convinced themselves that your light was somehow dependent on their presence, that your confidence came from their validation, that your worth was determined by their approval. They thought they were your source when they had actually been your drain. Your glow-up wasn't just physical, it was dimensional. You had stopped apologizing for taking up space and started commanding rooms. You had stopped explaining yourself and started simply being yourself, unapologetically and completely. And that self was magnificent in ways that were about to redefine everyone's understanding of who you had always been. The transformation was so obvious that it attracted a new type of attention, the desperate surveillance of those who suddenly realized what they'd lost. They're studying you now, with the intensity of scholars examining ancient texts. The same people who once dismissed your potential are now dissecting your every move, trying to reverse engineer a transformation they can't comprehend. Your social media posts get analyzed for hidden meanings. Your outfit choices get scrutinized for status clues. Your locations get mapped for networking opportunities. They're treating your life like a puzzle they can solve, but they're missing the most crucial piece. You were never meant to be understood by people operating at their frequency. Some have started copying your style, your language, your entire approach to life. Others are spreading rumors, trying to diminish your obvious success by attributing it to luck, deception, or worse. A few have become so obsessed with monitoring your progress that surveillance has become their primary hobby. But here's the beautiful irony they're too spiritually blind to see. While they're busy watching you, you're busy building something that's going to make their surveillance completely irrelevant. You're not just changing your life, you're ascending to an entirely different reality matrix. Their obsession with your external transformation is preventing them from doing the internal work that could actually improve their own lives. They're so focused on your journey that they're missing their own path entirely. The watching is about to become very expensive for them and very profitable for you, because while they're focused on your glow-up, they're missing the financial explosion happening behind the scenes. Money started flowing in ways that broke every rule they'd taught you about scarcity, struggle, and realistic expectations. Not in a slow trickle that they could explain away, in sudden torrents that left you wondering if the universe had been saving up your blessings for one massive delivery. Multiple income streams opened simultaneously. Opportunities that had rejected you before started actively seeking you out. Skills you'd developed during your survival years suddenly became valuable in ways that made financial advisors scratch their heads. But the real transformation wasn't in your bank account. It was in your relationship with receiving. You stopped feeling guilty about abundance. You stopped apologizing for success. You stopped making yourself smaller to accommodate their discomfort with your expansion. Your former circle watched this financial metamorphosis, with emotions ranging from disbelief to envy to pure confusion. They had invested in your limitation, convinced themselves that your struggle was permanent, that your dreams were delusions, that your financial breakthrough was impossible. Now they're watching you live the exact life they told you was unrealistic, using resources they said you'd never access, moving in circles they claimed were beyond your reach. The money isn't just flowing to you, it's flowing through you, in ways that are creating ripple effects they never anticipated. Your success is generating opportunities for others who support your vision. Your abundance is becoming a tide that lifts other boats. Meanwhile, those who tried to limit you are discovering that cutting themselves off from your energy was cutting themselves off from their own potential prosperity. This financial transformation was just the beginning of a much larger shift that would soon reveal the true scope of what you'd been building. They started coming back, one by one, with messages crafted to test your boundaries and assess whether they could slide back into old patterns of using your energy. "Hey, I was just thinking about you and wanted to reach out. I hope there are no hard feelings about how things ended. We should definitely catch up soon. I miss our conversations. I realize I may have misunderstood some things before." Each message is a probe, an attempt to gauge whether you've maintained your new standards or if they can resume their previous level of access to your light, your resources, your problem-solving abilities. Some are testing to see if you're still useful to them now that you're obviously successful. Others are positioning themselves to benefit from whatever breakthrough they can sense approaching. A few are genuinely panicking because they're finally grasping the magnitude of what they lost when they chose to underestimate you. Here's what they don't know. what's about to devastate them completely. You've developed a level of discernment that makes their manipulation attempts as transparent as glass. You can see their true intentions before they finish typing their messages. Your responses, or strategic lack thereof, are sending shockwaves through their reality. They expected desperation, gratitude, or at least acknowledgement. Instead, they're getting a silence that communicates more clearly than words ever could. You have moved beyond their ability to affect you. The most satisfying part is that they have no idea what you're building, who you're building it with, or how far you've already traveled beyond their comprehension. They're operating from outdated information about who you used to be, completely blind to who you've become. While they were scrambling to reconnect, the world was finally recognizing what they had been too blind to see. The world started seeing you differently, not gradually but suddenly, as if someone had updated the global database about your worth and potential. Industry leaders who had overlooked you were suddenly requesting your input. Opportunities that had seemed impossible were suddenly accessible. Recognition you'd been seeking for years started arriving without you even pursuing it. The validation wasn't just professional, it was spiritual. People began acknowledging gifts in you that you had always known you possessed, but had been told to hide or minimize for others' comfort. Your former circle watched this recognition with growing alarm. They had invested heavily in your insignificance, and your obvious significance was threatening their entire worldview about hierarchies, worthiness, and who deserves what level of success. Some tried to take credit for your development. I always knew they had potential. Others attempted to minimize your achievements. They just got lucky. A few began spreading stories about how you'd changed or lost yourself, when the truth was that you'd finally found yourself. The recognition keeps amplifying, and each new acknowledgement of your worth is another nail in the coffin of their limiting beliefs about your potential. The most delicious irony is that the same people who told you to be realistic are now watching you live a life that exceeds even your wildest previous dreams. The same people who said you were too much are now watching the world celebrate everything they tried to diminish. This recognition was validating, but it paled in comparison to what you had been quietly building while they were focused on keeping you small. While they were focused on your personal transformation, you were quietly constructing something that's about to completely reframe their understanding of your capabilities. Your scattered gifts suddenly found perfect alignment. Your survival skills suddenly became valuable assets. Your vision, which they had dismissed as unrealistic fantasy, suddenly became a blueprint for unprecedented success. You weren't just healing from their toxicity, you were using the strength you'd developed to create something extraordinary. Every skill learned during survival mode became a tool in your empire-building arsenal. The business ventures, creative projects, leadership roles, all manifestations of potential that was always there but had been systematically suppressed by people who needed you small for their own psychological comfort. Now they're watching you operate at levels they never imagined possible, using abilities they never knew you possessed, achieving results they had convinced you were beyond your reach, and the most shocking realization for them is that you're doing it all without them. Everything they claimed you needed them for, you're accomplishing independently and then some. Every limitation they imposed has been shattered by your actual performance. The empire isn't just financial, it's energetic, creative, spiritual. You're building a legacy that will outlast all their small-minded predictions about your life. This empire was already creating ripple effects that would transform not just your life, but the lives of everyone connected to your authentic energy. Now I want to take a moment to tell you about a few individuals that shouldn't exist. A trained occultist who escaped from a satanic coven, a former Black Ops drone pilot who flew swarms with his mind, a multi-millionaire psychic CFO who predicted market shifts before they happened. What do these remarkable individuals have in common? You'll find them all in the Obsidian Inner Order, where they share their forbidden knowledge on our private Discord server. My chosen soul has drunk deep from the well of knowledge aeon after aeon. In this incarnation, these extraordinary individuals became my allies in the Obsidian Inner Order. They recognized the call. They stepped forward. They connected with others who understand their unique gifts and burdens. What is stopping you from manifesting the same? The synchronicities that brought them here weren't accidents. Neither is your discovery of this message. When souls of this caliber gather, the Archons take notice. They fear our collective power. They know what happens when the truly awakened find each other. Join our weekly calls. Hear their stories firsthand. Share your own journey with those who won't dismiss or doubt you. The knowledge exchanged in our private channels cannot be found anywhere else on this plane. Click the link in the description below now. The extraordinary souls await your arrival. The question isn't whether you belong among them. The question is, how much longer will you wait to claim your place? Your transformation started affecting everyone in your orbit, but not in ways your former circle expected. Instead of being diminished by your absence, the people who truly matter in your life are being elevated by your presence. Family members who had abandoned their dreams are suddenly pursuing them with renewed vigor. Friends who had settled for mediocrity are raising their standards across all life areas. Colleagues who had accepted limitations are pushing boundaries they thought were permanent. Your energy has become contagious in the most beautiful way possible. Your success is giving others permission to succeed. Your authenticity is inspiring others to drop their masks. Your boundaries are teaching others to respect themselves. This ripple effect is creating a network of empowered individuals around you, all of whom understand your value and actively support your continued expansion. Meanwhile, your former circle is experiencing the opposite phenomenon. Without your light to reflect and amplify, they're seeing themselves more clearly, and the view is uncomfortable. Without your energy to drain, they're forced to confront their own spiritual poverty. The contrast is becoming impossible to ignore, and it's making them desperate to reconnect with you before you move completely beyond their reach. You're not moving backward. You're not even standing still. You're accelerating into a future they can barely comprehend, let alone access. This acceleration was possible because you had discovered the secret that transformed struggle into play. Tempanionsist, when you realized that life doesn't have to be a constant battle, that success can be joyful, that abundance can be playful, that power can be fun. You stopped approaching challenges with desperation and started meeting them with curiosity. You stopped forcing outcomes and started allowing flow. You stopped grinding against resistance and started dancing with possibility. This shift from struggle mode to flow mode has accelerated your progress in ways that are making observers' heads spin. They're watching you achieve in days what used to take you months, accomplish with ease what used to drain you completely. The playground energy isn't just changing your results, it's changing your entire reality matrix. You're attracting different opportunities, different people, different experiences. You're living in a completely different frequency than the one they tried to trap you in. Your joy is magnetic, your playfulness is attractive, your lightness is inspiring, and all of these qualities are drawing abundance to you in forms you never expected. The most confusing part for your former circle is that you're succeeding without suffering, you're winning without warfare, you're thriving without the drama they insisted was necessary for any meaningful growth. They can't decode how you're getting such extraordinary results with such apparent ease, because they're still operating from the old paradigm that equates struggle with virtue and suffering with spirituality. This confusion deepened when they finally grasped the ultimate truth about your relationship dynamic. Here's what they're finally starting to understand, and it's shaking them to their core. When you removed yourself from their ecosystem, everything started falling apart for them in ways they couldn't initially connect to your absence. Their businesses struggled without your unconscious support. Their relationships became more difficult without your energy smoothing over conflicts. Their lives lost a magic they didn't even know they were borrowing from you. Now they're discovering that what they interpreted as your need for them was actually their privilege in accessing you. What they assumed was your dependence was actually your generosity. What they believed was their power over you was actually your gift to them. The role reversal is complete, and it's devastating to their egos and their entire understanding of the relationship dynamic. They're forced to confront the reality that they had been in the presence of someone extraordinary and had treated that person as ordinary, available, and disposable. The regret is setting in, but it's too late. You've moved beyond their orbit entirely, operating in dimensions they can't even perceive. This realization prepared them for the final devastating truth that would complete the cosmic joke, the ultimate revelation that's about to break their reality completely. You're not just succeeding despite their sabotage, you're succeeding because of it. Every obstacle they placed in your path became a stepping stone to higher ground. Every limitation they imposed became a strength you developed. Every time they knocked you down, you got back up more powerful than before. Their toxicity didn't break you, it forged you into something unbreakable. Their negativity didn't diminish you, it refined you into pure gold. Their attempts to dim your light only made it burn brighter and more visible to those who matter. You're about to achieve something that will make them realize they weren't just wrong about your potential, they were unwitting instruments in fulfilling it. Their resistance created the exact pressure needed to form your diamond consciousness. The cosmic joke is finally revealing itself in all its perfect, devastating completeness. They spent so much energy trying to prevent your success that they actually became the catalyst for it. And now they have to live with the knowledge that they were in the presence of greatness and chose to oppose it instead of supporting it. They had front row seats to witness a chosen one's awakening, and they spent the entire show heckling from the audience. This is your life now, chosen one. You wake up each day in a reality that would have seemed like pure fantasy before your transformation. Your energy is your own, your time is your own, your power is your own. The people around you now are there because they appreciate your light, not because they want to dim it. They celebrate your victories instead of minimizing them. They support your vision instead of trying to shrink it to fit their limitations. Your finances reflect your new relationship with abundance. Money flows to you and through you with an ease that no longer surprises you. You've accepted it as your natural state, your birthright, as someone aligned with their highest purpose. Your work feels like play because you're finally operating in complete alignment with your gifts. Your days feel expansive because you're no longer confined by other people's fears, projections, and limitations. Most importantly, you've learned to trust yourself completely. Your intuition is your GPS, your vision is your roadmap, and your authentic power is the vehicle carrying you toward destinations that exceed your wildest dreams. The people who fumbled you are still sitting somewhere, trying to piece together what happened. They're confused because they expected you to crumble without them, but instead you soared to heights that make their small world look like a sandbox. They're bewildered because they thought they knew your limitations, but you've proven those limitations were never real. They were just agreements you had unknowingly made with their fear-based reality. They're stunned because they believed they were essential to your story, but you've written yourself a completely new narrative, one in which they're not even footnotes. Bam, you did it. You took your light back, and now they're all sitting there, deeply confused about how they fumbled someone so extraordinary. The cosmic joke is complete, the karma has balanced, and you're living proof that chosen ones always rise. You are not listening to someone else's story. You are listening to your own story, from the perspective of your highest self. Every word, every revelation, every transformation described here isn't just possible for you, it's your inevitable destiny, because you are, and have always been, a chosen one.